great experience. My career is very rich at this stage of my life. The way I made the choice to get involved in collaborative work is an interesting story to me about choices and about how life can turn on a dime. 6 years ago, as I mentioned, I received the flyer to go to training in interdisciplinary approach to collaborative law. I knew this much about collaborative work. I'd read a little bit about it. I understood. But at that point, I looked at the flyer, and in all honesty, I looked at the cost of the 2-day training, and I took the flyer and I just threw it on the island in my kitchen and said, that is way above, as a therapist, what I would typically pay for a 2-day training. Not going to do it. It would choke me financially right now. My husband, who is a man of very few words, but when he does speak, there's often wisdom connected to that, happened to walk by the island. He picked up the flyer and said, "What's this?" I explained it to him and said, "I'm not going to do this because of the cost." And David sat down at the table and he did this. He put his finger in the air. And I'm looking at him going, what? What does this mean? One client, Linda. All it would take is one client that would come out of that training, and the cost money you would invest would come back to you. As a result of those words, I went to that training. That's the first really interesting piece around that for me. Secondly, when we went to the training, as in most interdisciplinary trainings, as it should be, I believe, we were seated at round tables, and we were asked to sit next to someone who's not in our discipline, i.e. financial professionals or lawyers, since we're going to start working together as a team. I did not know many people in the room at all. I knew a few, but I really didn't. I knew of them a bit. I sat down, and in those 2 days, I ended up doing a lot of role plays, as we all did, a lot of role plays with the attorneys and people around me. One of those attorneys was Kevin Fuller. And at the time, I did not know or understand that Kevin Fuller is clearly one of the influencers in our community. He's extremely well respected, and if you were to know him, you would understand, work with him, you would understand why. Kevin called me the next day, and in his wonderful Kevin way of communicating said, "Come have lunch with me. I kind of like the way you did some of those role plays. You know how to talk to people and talk to them about difficult things, and come talk to me." We had lunch, and as a result of having lunch at the end, he said, "I want to work with you. I want you to come work with me. I've got 2 cases starting, and I haven't used coaches before. We haven't done much of that really here in Dallas yet. And I'm not real comfortable with the 2-coach model," and I think he was speaking collectively for Dallas-Fort Worth at that point for various reasons. But since you've done a lot of marital work, I'd like you to come in and be the neutral. Well, I didn't know what I didn't know, so I was, "Oh, sure, there's the one client." My husband, "Sure, this is great, I can do it." And it literally happened in that way. I didn't know what I was getting into. I had no idea what would be created as a result. And I said yes, and we kind of stumbled and bumbled our way through. And very soon thereafter, Deborah Miller, another well-respected lawyer here in Dallas, asked me to be on a case. And it grew from there, because folks would say, this lawyer is using a mental health professional in a collaborative case. So that began the shift in Dallas-Fort Worth, which was 6 years ago now, from lawyer-only collaborative work, primarily. There had been a little bit occasionally, but lawyer-only, to having a mental health professional come in as a neutral to collaborative work. In addition, financial professionals, of course, came in. I'm not going to make too much reference to that right now, but that also happened. And it's been an interesting journey, to say the least, in the last 6 years, ever since that time. We've gone through a number of stages to get to where we are now, but I feel just so lucky to have been sitting in that chair that I happened to be in that room of 50 or 60 people. So lucky that I was there at that moment, because it's changed my entire career. And I feel also very proud to be part of something that truly makes a difference for families, because I've seen it happen over and over and over and over.